Hi there, joining me in the studio today to talk about different types of families. We've got Mike Gore, the CEO of Charitable. We've also got Emmylou Brasso, who's with the Salvation Army Youth Services as part of Oasis Youth Services, and also Brett Ryan, the CEO of Focus on the Family. Thank you all for joining us. Brett, can you tell us what the modern Australian family looks like these days?
I wish it was a clear answer, but that is changing. And if you only look at about 50 years, how the size of families has changed. It's decreased. The typical family of, mum, dad, two kids, that is probably still 44% of our culture, but we're seeing an increasing number of single parent families, and we're also seeing blended families. And then you have the fur baby families and those people who are just chosen to not have children at all as another factor. So we actually have lots of different shapes and sizes in our family dynamics. What's
your experience been, Mike, growing up in Australia and what families look like?
Yeah, look, I probably have a relatively unique family experience. I was adopted from India when I was 6 months old. I grew up in a white Australian family, had two white sisters. I was the only brown kid in school till I was 16. I have taken all sorts of racism that you could not believe because of that. Grew up in one of the whitest parts of Sydney. And so my experience of family has been both incredibly powerful and beautiful, and it's been an incredibly difficult journey at times, finding a sense of belonging and a sense of purpose. But one thing I am unbelievably thankful for is the family that I was adopted into. Yeah. A beautiful Christian family that allowed me to feel part of that family. And because of that, a sense of stability, pride in who I am, pride in this country, to be honest. I love Australia and I love all that it's offered me. And a really, really positive family experience in that regard.
Do you think there's such a thing as a typical family then in Australia?
No, I think that everyone, we love to live in boxes and containers. We like to try and put things in a way that allows us to find a sense of safety or stability. One thing I am sure of is the notion of family is incredibly fluid and it is always changing. I remember a good friend of mine, Tim Costello, said to me once, "Hey Mike, to love your kids equally, you must treat them differently." And that absolutely blew my mind. Good. Because if I look, we live in a society that wants to normalize everything. Man, everyone gets the same pajamas at Christmas or whatever it might be. But the truth of it is, families are fluid. We are all individuals. We all carry different things that shape us over time. Families are fluid.
So Emmylou, then, for the young people that you're working with who their family life might not look like what we might imagine, what is family to them?
Oh, look, family in the definition of the birth family, like Brett was saying, mum, dad, nuclear family, that really rarely exists with the young people that I work with. And in fact, the birth families would often carry a lot of trauma for them or a lot of neglect and hurt, and it can be quite a triggering idea to have that family. So for them, I find that they redefine family through the people in the community that look out for them or their support protective people. It could just be a coach in a sports team or an older mentor. For a lot of Aboriginal and Torres Strait Islander families that I work with, it can be a beautiful, big, blended, extended family, cousins, family, friends, just people looking out for them.
What does a good family look like then? In the fact that it comes in so many different shapes and sizes, how do we define a good one?
Well, I think it's where everyone gets a chance to be heard. Everyone has a voice. Everyone has a chance to be listened to. A sense of belonging, which Mike has alluded to. I think that's really important. And I think being selfless, serving one another, that would make a good family when everyone actually has looking out for each other to bring out the best.
And if you are in a family, it's something we can easily take for granted, and yet we all need it. What are the benefits of being in a secure, safe family environment?
I think we need to be really mindful and cautious, particularly for the people that Emmylou works with, is that there is this catch-all that can say, hey, if your experience of family isn't this, then maybe it's not a family. And I really want to be clear that there are some people out there who have had incredibly positive experiences of family, some that have had incredibly heartbreaking experiences of family. But for me, I would say the three core elements to any sort of family unit, they must provide a sense of safety, right? Is the environment safe? A sense of belonging, that you feel part of it. Again, bringing a brown-skinned kid in a white family, belonging was really important because you definitely didn't look like you belonged. And thirdly is to be noticed, that your actions have a contribution and matter.
So, Brett, is there a difference between your household, the collection of people you live with, maybe it's friends, maybe it is, biological family, and what you might define as family?
Well, I mean, I think the important thing is to recognise that, and Mike has just mentioned before about sense of belonging and that you matter, you're important, you're of a high value. And sometimes people can find that in their lovely family network, and that's, again, an ideal. But then there's other types of family dynamics, that there's roommates or there's your sporting team, and they become your go-to people, your people, and they become significant in your world, and they can look out for each other, cheer each other on, encourage, and that can become just as important. And they can actually say, "That's my family."
Mm-hmm. So, Emmylou, when a young person you're working with maybe doesn't have those things, how do you work with them?
Yeah, just listening to Mike speak, I thought, so many young people don't have that, and it is really sad. But when I start working with them, the first thing that I look at is how can we build up that safety network or that support network for them. And often that is just looking at their interests, their skills, and finding things in the community that they can be a part of, whether that be studying a course and having people around them with a like-minded kind of interest, or joining a sports team, or going to a church, or anything like that will help them connect with safe people.
And that probably plays a little bit into the phrase we always hear that you can choose your friends, but you can't choose your family. What's your response to that idea?
Well, it's exactly right. You don't get to choose who your mum and dad are, or your brothers and sisters, but you can choose the people around you that you allow into your world that aren't going to be damaging and toxic. But that doesn't mean, it doesn't give you an excuse to say, I'm not going to make an effort to make my family be as best it can be. There are some times when it is dysfunctional and you need to remove yourself. But at the same time, I think there's been some people I know that deconstruct the family because they like their little network of people that agree with them all the time, and that becomes their world. I think family is messy and we don't always get along, but we can love each other and learn to respect one another. That's the ideal.
Some great thoughts to finish with there, Brett. Thank you guys so much for your contributions, and thank you for joining us.